Well, nothing but the most professional podcast here in Motorcycle Monkey, the cave, as I call it, in the store here in Santee. You can hear my little dog, Harley, barking. I had no choice but to bring him today, and I love him very much, but I don't know why he's freaking out. Sit on the bed, buddy. We have Mary, a.k.a. Cupcake, in with us. Mary, how did you get... First of all, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
How did you... I know, and you know what? You're nervous, and you shouldn't be. Don't be nervous. This is fun. I know it's important to you. We're going to get to what you're doing here, but I got to know, how did you get the nickname Cupcake? I never heard the story.
So amongst some other groups that I'm a part of, I show up kind of sprinkles and fun and sunshine and all those kinds of things. But I tell people sometimes that Cupcake is kind of dependent on them, that the flavor that they get when you open me up, if it goes to business, there might be a little burnt on the bottom.
Right.
So sprinkles on the top, but when it's go time and it's business, you got to take the wrapper off and go.
I like it.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it. Well, so far, I've only seen sprinkles. So
yes,
that's good.
Exactly.
All right. So I want to get into a few things today. I want to get into how often you ride, the distance that you ride, what got you into riding, and with a husband who does ride, but it doesn't seem nearly as much as you, how does that work out? So let's start with what got you into riding?
Probably what got me into riding is my father, who is a military veteran, and my husband as well. My father was a big participant in a group called Run for the Wall.
Yeah.
That's the cross-country event that we'll talk about soon. And I saw that he was going. So originally I went with my husband as a backseater after watching my dad go for quite a while. So I was a backseater for a few years, and
Right.
then I wanted to ride my own. It's something that I've always had in my head, and I just never really pursued. And I just kind of made the decision to get my license, bought a bike, bought the first bike, did a lot of practice riding, pro rider courses, started riding more, and then eventually, after a couple of years, started riding Run for the Wall on my own bike, and then some other adventures since then.
Now, was that the first long distance trip that you had ever taken where you rode your own bike, was Run for the Wall?
No, actually, I had done some other long distance things, long distance Arizona, not cross country. And then also right before I rode my own the first year and Run for the Wall, we had ridden to Albuquerque, so about 1,500 miles round trip just to take a pro course. So
and that was you riding on your own?
Yes, to Albuquerque to take a one-day pro course.
Yeah, that's what trips me out. You are very dedicated. What is it about? You must enjoy riding distance more than you do short, right? Short rides?
I appreciate both. I like shorter rides either with my husband or for community events here locally, like poker runs and stuff like that. But I'm very much a Sagittarius and a traveler and want to see the world, see the country, and meet people. So I do enjoy riding long distance and just really seeing the scenery change as I travel from west to east and then back
It is pretty incredible.
again. Yeah, I mean, you kind of blink and all of a sudden the whole landscape changes. Yeah. I've
done Vegas. I've done Phoenix from San Diego and back. And I've done a couple of fairly long runs, but nothing like you. Nothing like I've done overnighters, but when I went to Sturgis, I trailered. Okay. I like the comforts. I really do. And I've got a 2000 Road King Classic. But the thing for me is I also travel sometimes with people who are older.
Yes.
And so I also want to be cognizant of the fact that it might just be better for us to get there and trailer.
Yes.
And truth be told, I have buddies and friends like you who will go out on their own and do these huge long distance trips. I actually yearn for that. I really do want to do that. I just, with a wife and 2 kids and my busy lifestyle right now, as you're very busy, to carve that time out, it's tough.
It
because right? And that's what I was going to ask about your husband. So, Adam, I know Adam. I've known him. God, I knew Adam before you.
Yes.
And then I found out you guys were married. It was great. I ran into you guys. I think it was with Dax. We did a run some years ago.
Amazing, yes.
She's a great person.
Yes.
I'd love to get her on here, too.
Yes.
But, and that's when I started thinking about it. All these posts that I see with you that you're riding all over, like these huge 2-3 week trips. And I'm thinking, so how does that work with you and Adam? Does he care at all? Is he just like, go have fun?
So, good question. So yes, we, originally, like I said, for Run for the Wall, we were doing this together.
Right.
And then now he is no longer participating and choosing to spend that vacation time because he has limited vacation time from his work.
Right.
And that income, those resources elsewhere for us to do other things, which is wonderful. So maybe we can motorcycle travel on our own with not an agenda and a timeline and tied to a charity or something like that. Also, Adam and I have we're opposites attract. We have very different things that we appreciate personally, and me being around big groups and just loving on everybody and running around kind of crazy and talking to everybody. And he's a little bit more introverted. He just kind of likes to sit one-on-one. He likes to do some things at home, his hobbies that are not necessarily my jam.
He is a quiet guy, that's for sure.
Yeah, so for me to like kind of either take the day out to do a charity run or even go cross country kind of allows us to each have our love languages fed a little bit. And then, when we come together, then it's us doing the things that we love together.
All the better.
Cosplay, riding.
That's cool.
All that kind of stuff, yeah.
So he really is just cool with it. Like, hey, do what you got to do.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'll tell you, if we get into the story about me coming home last year on my own from Florida back home, he was extremely supportive and kept telling me just, take your time and do what you need to do to be safe. And I would check in and call him from some memorials or send him like live chat with him and show him like where I was at. And he was extremely supportive, and that just, fed my heart and gave me all the love in the world. And he is very supportive. I mean, this is a burden. I hate to say burden, but in order to participate at this level, there is a lot of obviously financial obligation.
So like a sacrifice.
Yeah. You're, like you said, 2 or 3 weeks out going cross country for a charity organization. It's not like we're getting paid. So you do have all these extra expenses. So he is occasionally supportive. Like I don't want the typical flowers or whatever for, maybe Mother's Day or whatever. And so I'm asking for motorcycle parts or gear. And he's very, very generous with that. So I really, really appreciate that from him. His love language of giving me what I need when I ask for it. Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Yeah,
he's good. And you're a good lady. You really are. You do a lot in the community. That's how I met you, was, again, doing these community rides, and I saw you more and more. Then I opened the shop, and you show up to help all the time. Everyone, not just me. Like, you help a lot of people, which is very cool. And I want to get into how folks can get involved with what you're doing.
Sure.
But Run to the Wall, for anybody who doesn't know what it is, give an explanation. Then I want to get into what you're doing this year.
Sure. Okay, so Run for the Wall is founded by Vietnam veterans 33 years ago. And what they did is originally they went from San Diego to Washington, D.C. and to the Vietnam Memorial Wall, originally calling for a full accounting of POWs and MIAs. So remember that this is in the 80s. So this isn't too far past the Vietnam War, right? And so a lot of contention on did we leave people behind, and the status of some of our POWs and
which we
MIAs.
found out that in some cases we absolutely did.
Yes.
Not intentionally.
Correct.
But,
so
yeah.
There's a lot going on there, and people most definitely can do their research. There's a lot of families out there that still want to tell their stories or still missing their loved ones. And so that has continued every year. So it is the longest and largest motorcycle ride of its kind. And what we do now is we leave every year from Ontario, California, the Inland Empire, Los Angeles, and we take 10 days across 3 different routes, all 3 launching at the exact same time, 10 days to Washington, D.C., so traveling across the U.S. And we all reconvene in D.C. within a couple of hours of each other, all 3 routes. So total for those 3 routes could be anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 people.
And that's like 3,400 miles, is it not?
No, going cross country is a little less than that.
Is it?
A little under 3,000 miles, yeah.
Okay.
So, but people are traveling, maybe if they're going all the way with us, they're traveling maybe from the East Coast, or even some people come in from other countries overseas and either ship a bike or rent a bike. They're going to travel and start with us in Ontario and then to DC and then get home from there. Whereas I'm starting on the West Coast. I live on the West Coast. So my journey home is from the East Coast coming all the way back again home. So by the time most of us get home, if we're all the way, we're somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 miles.
That's a trek.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Wow. Okay, so why do you want to do this?
Well, so giving back to the veteran community and first responder community has been close to my heart, way ahead of ever motorcycle riding. I myself am a grateful American, just patriot civilian,
Right.
but I'm surrounded by military. So my father retired a Navy Force Master Chief with 30 years in the Navy. He served from Vietnam to the Persian Gulf, and 22 of those years were in submarines. So I grew up in a very different lifestyle.
Yeah.
My brother is a retired Master Chief SEAL. So he's from the SEAL teams.
Wow.
And then I have Adam is a prior 82nd Airborne Army All-American paratrooper. And most of my friends and family, even roommates, when I was, run around San Diego, were all military, a lot from the Spec Ops community specifically. So I never served, and this is my way to try to give back to not only them, but their families as well. The families of military and first responders, law enforcement specifically, just live a much different lifestyle. The kids, the spouses, the parents, the supporters of that family. And it's just something that's really unknown or kind of unfathomable to civilians sometimes, especially when we talk about deployments and wartime combat.
And to adjust
deployments.
when they come back. That's
Yes.
the thing for me. That's why I got involved.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy because I don't have the close connection that you do with all that family, immediate family. I have some family members who've served, but like you, I was like, man, I've never served. I really want to do something. Me and my buddy Mark started Mayride. Anyway, that's another story. But I really appreciate that you want to put your voice out and put all of your time into this for our heroes.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thank you for being a family member. Because again, to me, when you have a parent or a child or a husband or a wife who's in the military, to me, you are also a hero. So that means a lot.
Thank you.
So I know there's some fun to this. There has to be fun because I like I said, I've done not nearly the trips you have, but riding your bike, riding that motorcycle, and just seeing, as you said earlier, just the different landscape as you go across different areas of the country. I've ridden in Colorado, but I didn't ride to Colorado. I've ridden in Laughlin. I've ridden to and back from Vegas and Phoenix. Again, not quite the journey that you've had, however, or journeys you've had. But that is something I love. Like in Sturgis, South Dakota. I've talked about this on a couple of podcasts. Just the lush and the green and the trees and the mountains and oh, God.
Yes.
It's just amazing.
Yes.
So you're going to see a lot of that. So I know there's fun involved, but there's a reason you're doing this one this year because Run for the Wall, wasn't that canceled this year?
Yes. So for the last 2 years, due to the pandemic, Run for the Wall has been postponed officially. And the little bit of heartbreak for me on that personally is that in 2019, we did a recon for a fourth route for Run for the Wall. We kind of explored what it would look like if there was a new route for Run for the Wall. And how that came about is in 2018, I had a talk with the founder of Run for the Wall, one of the founders, and his name is James Gregory. He's a prior gunny from the Marine Corps, HAT, as we call them, drill instructor, Vietnam veteran, and he still rides Run for the Wall every year. So I got a chance to speak to him in 2018 and ask about the next generation and all of our service members of these current OIF, OEF, this, never ending war that we seem to be in right now in the Middle East. And how does that look for Run for the Wall and the longevity? Because our Vietnam veteran heroes who we've been trying to welcome home and embrace them and give them a path to healing, unfortunately, that demographic is aging. And we see that they're not able to participate in Run for the Wall in the numbers or in the way that they used to. So he spoke to me about a wall, not the Vietnam Memorial Wall in D.C., but a wall that's very little known called the Middle East Conflicts Wall in Marseilles, Illinois.
I've never heard of that.
See, exactly. And so he said, you do have your own wall. And I said, what? And he said, you have your own wall. I've been there. And I said, okay, well, so tell me more. And he says, well, I've been trying to think of, basically how to get people there and what it would look like and all these types of things. And he goes, and the short of the story is it was a very personal conversation, but the short of it is he says, I think you're the person to do it. And I just started bawling. People know I'm a little bit, I tear up very easily. I get emotional. And I started bawling and I said, you shouldn't have told me that. And he was standing there with his beautiful bride and he said, why not? And I said, because I'll never let this go. I don't know what this looks like or how long out. And my head was already turning. Is this a 10-year plan, a 5-year plan? Well, long story short, I confided in some very wonderful retired military friends who have also ridden Run for the Wall, who are more current era veterans, and said, hey, what would this look like if we did this? And we fashioned out some things, and with about 60 days notice of Run for the Wall 2019, I brought it to the board of directors and said, what would it look like if we did this? So we ran a recon. And what that recon did is, once we arrived in DC, we would launch in DC from Memorial Weekend. Run for the Wall cross country arrives on Friday. Our mission complete is on Saturday. We are one of the only motorcycle groups allowed access as a group into Arlington National. We take 400 bikes into Arlington National on Saturday, lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Wow.
Bring everyone back to the Lincoln Memorial, fill the steps for a family photo of us and, over 1,000 of our closest friends that just rode cross country. And then we walk down to the Vietnam Memorial Wall and pay our respects there and do our mission complete. That's on Saturday. So Sunday of Memorial Weekend, Recon launched for this new potential route. We took 75 leaders, about 25 from each of the 3 routes, blended them together to try to take the best of the best and look at what this route would look like from Washington, D.C. to Marcel, Illinois. So traveling through a different part of the country who hasn't seen us before, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, some different places that, may not see Run for the Wall or understand our mission. So we did that, and it was overwhelmingly appreciated, supported from the get-go, even as Recon. So we were to be a go in 2020 as the new 4th route for Run for the Wall, and that's my route. It's called Sandbox route. The other routes for...
Oh, I've heard you talk about that.
Yeah,
I've
so
heard
the
you
other
say
routes,
Sandbox route. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we absolutely have the full blessing and do everything the same as the other routes for Run for the Wall, if people are familiar with that. But we're a little bit shorter, 3 days travel time over Memorial Weekend. Sunday, Monday, Memorial Day, and Tuesday we arrive to pay our respects. That ties the walls together is my vision and concept. That ties the generations together, ties the healing together. So we need our generation to know the stories of our Vietnam veterans and the wall and our people that are still missing from Vietnam. But when our Vietnam veterans and their families are no longer able to tell those stories, another generation can. But also we need our Vietnam veterans and their families to show us a path to healing at our wall. So we need to bridge that gap. So for me, it was really sad because in 2020 and 2021, the inaugural year of Sandbox Run, with all of this, people just, there was a wait list to get in our
a
run.
lot of people, a lot of participation.
Yeah, and both times we were postponed with the rest of Run for the Wall. And for good reasons. It's a very difficult decision that the board of directors had to make, taking that many people cross country, and with COVID and the pandemic and the ever-changing situations, that we're traveling through so many different places.
Right, which have different rules. Each of them have different rules for COVID.
And it's changing daily. So a very tough decision, but kind of to lead into what you're asking, born of that are some other groups of patriots who decided to still go and pay their respects last year and this year. So I did go last year cross country with a group called Flags of Honor Escorts, where we literally escorted American flags across the country and took them to different memorials and monuments to pay our respects. And then this year I'll be traveling with a group that I'm helping put together called Heartland Heroes Tour.
And this is how many people total that you're leading?
So this group that I'm leading with a few other wonderful leaders and well-respected people in that community it's 10 days again, traveling on the exact same days. Our mission complete will be on Friday, Memorial Weekend, but we're traveling a little differently. Instead of going into Washington, D.C. to the Vietnam Memorial Wall, we're actually going to kind of loop up from Kentucky and then go up and around into Illinois to pay respects at the Middle East Conflicts Wall in Marcel, Illinois. And then we're going to curl back down from Illinois back into Missouri and go to another wall that's little known and is oftenly referred to as the Sister Wall. And that's a full-scale replica of the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Perryville, Missouri.
Good Lord.
And so we're going to have our mission complete there instead of going into Washington, D.C. with the ever-changing situations going on.
So you leave when?
We leave Ontario, California on the 19th of May.
Which means you leave on the 18th from San Diego to get there.
I actually leave a few days ahead of that because leadership meetings and all the things that we need to put in order, preparation, so I need to be there a few days ahead of time.
Okay, so from that point,
yes,
I know you have checkpoints, and I know you'll be staying the night in certain places.
Yes.
But what would be your longest stretch? Do you know which part is your longest stretch yet without stopping?
Yes.
Well, other than gas. I'm talking about for the night.
So our longest day, we are 10 days. And so I tell people all the time, and especially with Run for the Wall similarly, is that it's not that we ride a lot of miles in a day. It's that we have very long days because of the emotional impact that we're contributing to communities and they're contributing back to us.
Right.
So we're stopping at schools. As a matter of fact, Heartland Heroes has been in contact with a school in Missouri that we're very excited about. That is the first school in the United States to receive a special designator of a POW MIA designator for their school. And we're going to go to their school and they're going to give us a presentation, and some of our veterans and MIA family members are going to be able to speak to them at assembly.
Wow.
5th and 6th graders.
That's so cool.
So we're not riding just to lay down miles. So on Heartland Heroes Tour this year, our longest, well, Heartland Hero, I say this year, but really we're a once in a lifetime experience because
this is different.
Probably
everything
only
the year,
this
yeah, years before this, yeah.
Right. So we're probably a little over 400 miles, which to a lot of long distance riders is not that long of a day. But on a day where we do a couple hundred miles, we may be going to a national cemetery. We may visit an MIA family still looking for their loved one.
And this all takes time out of that day. They're little compartments of time.
Yes, when you're traveling, and this is going to be a group of maybe 75 to 100 people traveling, which is not that much considering.
Wait, hold on. You don't think that's a lot? 75 to 100 people on the road together for that many miles? That's a lot. That's a lot. Listen, I lead Clint's Ride Club around San Diego, which is once a month. It's just a little burger joints. We do like Julian and back 120 miles, 150 miles. Right?
I've been with him when we got separated going to Saquon. I was on that one.
Hop-a-tool, truck trail, all that, which is a great route, by the way. But, you know, for me even, let's say 10, 15 riders, when it's more than 20, 30, 40 miles, that's a lot. You can have bike issues. You can have fatigue in certain riders. Yes. Not me. I'm talking about for your trip.
Correct.
75 to 100 riders, that's 75 to 100 bikes. And even if you're 2 up, I don't know if anybody's 2 up.
Yes.
Okay, so is that what you're counting, 75 to 100?
Right now I'm counting bikes, not heads.
Okay, so that's even more people. So there's bathroom breaks. And I know you're planning for all that, but the thing is you get that many people, there are going to be those who get fatigued. Someone's got a headache. Someone can't see in the sun.
Yes.
Their glasses broke. The bike broke down. I'm telling you, and you're telling me that's not a lot for a trip like that.
Well, the reason I say it's not a lot is because comparatively with Run for the Wall, we're running anywhere from 350 to 600.
Right, in a group.
In a group.
What a sight to see that.
Yeah, we take up 5 miles of slab, but it's very systematic.
I got chills.
Yeah, it's very systematic. It's done very military logistically. Like when we say KSU, you know,
kickstands up for anybody who doesn't know.
We're to the minute because we have somewhere we have to be.
You have to be, yeah.
We have governors that will shut down the state line for us, from state line to state line.
God, the coordination
for
all of this.
The law enforcement will lead us through, and no other traffic is with us. They'll do a rolling block behind us because the governor, particularly of Mississippi for a few years, rode with us.
Oh, that's bitchin', yeah.
I have his autograph on my helmet.
So cool.
I have his signature on my helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have to be where we have to be. We have school kids. We have families. We have, you know, wounded warriors. We have Purple Heart recipients. We have repatriated POWs. We have people waiting on us to be there at a specific time. And with Heartland Heroes as well, we have communities feeding us. So when we roll in, we're being fed by the community. So the local VFW, Boy Scouts, Young Marines, American Legion, church,
they're all taking
school,
time.
They're all already there, and our food is ready for us so that we can get through a meal quickly.
That was my dog snoring.
Yeah,
by the way, in
get
case
on
you
a meal
caught that,
quickly and get back out. And one of the coolest videos that I have that's been viewed, I don't know how many thousands of times, is how we do a fuel stop. I think that's how it's NASCAR-style.
I was going to say, it must be. Okay, I'm going to guess. Let me guess. At least a little bit of it. I'm sure you have little groups, right? It's already been like, look, there's 10 of us going here, there, depending on the number of pumps. Maybe with all this planning, you even know where you're going with each stop exactly and how many pumps are there. So it must be, right? So that one bike pulls up and 4 to 6 line up right next to it to just go from tank to tank to tank. Am I right?
Yes. So what you'll see in the video, and I can provide you a link to that, is
yes.
It is absolutely NASCAR style. And all of everything is coordinated with our different teams. I mean, we're already working on 2022. So Sandbox route. and
Wow,
the other
this is
routes.
amazing.
I have a leadership meeting, in a couple of days. We're constantly working. So these gas stops, not only do they know we're coming, and the community may be out to support us, to hydrate us, like the local Combat Vet Motorcycle Association or the local MCs or whatever may come out to help support us, along with maybe Daughters of American Revolution and Boy Scouts, and they're handing out water to 500
This is
people.
almost like a marathon.
It is.
Except on motorcycles, where people are set at stations for you.
The videos don't do it justice. The photos don't do it justice. They have no
I've never
idea.
seen the videos.
Yeah, it's incredible. So we will roll into a fuel stop, which has already been assessed, contacted management, all that kind of stuff. We already have satellite photos. Our staging team already has a map out of exactly what platoon, the head count of how many bikes is going to
And
go
you're a
exactly
part of all
where.
this.
Yes. And so the fuel team, literally, we have a fuel team. The fuel team rides ahead on advance along with staging and some other teams, and they're already there. So when we roll in, all the cars, all the trucks, all the big trucks, whatever is the case, they're all already pushed out of the way.
Good Lord.
They turn all the pumps on. Nobody pays with a credit. Nobody's
I was
swiping
going to say
a
that would
credit
take
card.
forever.
No. Nobody's swiping a credit card. We're fueling over 500 bikes in 20 minutes.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Is
Right.
how long does this take? 20
Watch
minutes.
the video. Watch the video.
No way.
And so nobody's
Wow.
swiping a credit card. So sometimes it is a donated stop. We'll have an individual or a group or a business cover the expense of that stop for everyone, including our chase vehicles.
I'm trying to do the math on
Trucks,
this. So
I
what is that,
know.
like $1,000? Well, you got to figure each bike's probably $12 times. Oh yeah, well, I'm way off.
Chase.
So like $4,000 or
chase
$5,000?
trucks, trailers,
Oh,
merchandise trailers, hydration trailers, chaplain corps.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking like $5,000-$6,000, maybe more.
So very generously, groups and individuals and businesses will sponsor those stops, and the same, thankfully, looking like with Heartland Heroes as well. So the fuel team will ride ahead, and they will get all the pumps turned on. This is all well coordinated, no swiping. And what happens is one fueler is looking at the gas pump while it's rolling, and they see the money going by, and they round up to the next dollar of your part of it.
Okay.
So you take the cash out of your little thing or your pocket, and if your bill is $8, so the pump is just open, it's not going to restart, but they've calculated, and it's $8, you give them exactly $8. If you give them $20, there's no change, and you just made a donation.
Okay. Well, that makes
And
sense for
then
time, yeah.
And then there's another bike sitting next to you, so while you're paying, the other fueler is grabbing the pump from you over your head and giving it to the next person. You finish paying, gas cap on, start bike, you
Get
pull
in position
forward,
to exit.
you exit, they're holding the line up while this person is still fueling, the other fueler is pulling up the next bike.
Now I know that, there's positions, like if you're leading that ride, you're front
Yes.
left, and there's front right, you have the chase, you have
Yes.
the tail, you
have
have the mid.
platoon leaders.
Right. But is it every single bike in that group must be in the same position as before, or
No.
only the leaders and the leaders, I guess?
Correct. The leadership for each ride in Heartland Heroes will follow a very similar format. The leaders are always in the position they need to be. The missing man coordinator is always in the front with the route coordinator, assistant route coordinator, tour lead, whatever you're calling them. The platoon leaders in each platoon is broken down because we don't mix three-wheeled vehicles or trailers with two-wheel motorcycles. So there's whole platoons of just Can-Ams or trikes or motorcycles with trailers because they perform differently.
Right.
They
Take up
break
more
differently.
space.
Yes, exactly. So that has to account into the leadership and the breakdown, and also where we're parking the bikes and staging in like a gas stop, like you said. And so, yes, those leadership positions, they'll always be in the same place. But within your platoon of 15 to 20 people or however many are in your platoon, once you come through the gas stop and you're looking for the stager holding up the number of your platoon, you'll just fall into the next open slot.
Okay, this is a serious
you're-
question.
You're readjusting with the people next to you constantly.
Sounds like a joke. It's not. There must be people who, and I'm serious when I ask this, who must plan on bringing some sort of pee bag, because there's no way. There's like a guy like me, I have a large prostate. Like for me, or maybe that's part of the qualification to going on the trip. You must be able to, because here's the thing: if you're last to gas up, how the hell are you going to have time to run in and go to the bathroom? You can't.
And that's where efficiency and sometimes community support comes in. So efficiency,
Like, roll my bike up, please. I'm in the back of the line. I need to use the restroom.
well, not necessarily. It's that the fuel team and these different teams are so efficient in getting us through quickly. So our time on deck, as it's called, our time at the station we're at, like a gas station, maybe 45 minutes total.
Oh, okay.
But
So
it's
you do have that.
We do have
okay.
that time. But yes, correct. The platoons at the back, the people at the back of the pack will have less time. And so
That's crazy.
what happens with that is community support. So let's say people just want to come out and bring pallets of water. I mean, Costco pallets of water, are not really that expensive.
Right.
But to us, it makes all the difference in the world because it means that we don't have to go in and stand in line to get bottles of water in a gas station.
Right.
So it makes all the difference
And
in
if
the world.
that happens 20 times throughout, that saves you $60 or whatever it may be.
Right. Now, also, everyone is adults, and if people need to take any sort of wellness, medical, mechanical break, they absolutely can tap out of the pack at any point that they need to, even while we're in motion.
So there's an understanding that there's a protocol for that.
There is absolutely a protocol and hand signals for that within the pack.
But if they do, are any of the vehicles there for that person to assess, oh, it's a minor problem, we'll have this done in 10 minutes, you can catch up,
There is
or
hand
no, you're
signals
out?
for that. So let's say we're riding past a rest stop, right? Which isn't common in California, but as you travel across and you get places where,
Right.
there's not a
They're
lot
pretty
out there.
common, yeah.
So a rest stop, and somebody may be peeling off into a rest stop, they're going to give a thumbs up signal. So on the comms, on the communication going all the way back, hundreds of people to
Like
the
that
chase
rider's okay.
vehicles and the chase vehicles and the medics in the back, we're relaying thumbs up on rider, thumbs up on rider. So they know they don't have to stop. The chaplain corps, the wellness, the medics, the chase don't have to stop. But if that rider has a mechanical or medical breakdown and they're on the side of the road, they or their passenger, whoever, is to do basically jumping jacks and flag down until the last vehicle of the pack passes them, and that as well is being relayed back. Rider needs assist, and the chaplain corps medical hydration
Will fall out
will fall out at the end of the pack and take them if their bike needs assistance or they need assistance. Maybe they're just having a medical or wellness issue. They'll load them up on the trailer, and this is all donated.
So they load them on the trailer. Do they continue the journey with you?
They take the bike to the next forward dealership or the rider to if they need a medical assist.
Gotcha.
If it doesn't require like an ambulance to come in.
This is
and
this
this
such
is
a
all
trip.
donated. This is all 100. Nobody's getting paid to do this.
Right. Well, and we're going to get into that in just a second here. But okay. So you've got all these designated gas stops. You have all of these places that have to be able to house that many people to stay together, or at least in close proximity.
Hotels. We have contracts with hotels,
right. With
conglomerates.
kickstands up at certain times,
And some
meal
people
time
camp.
at certain times.
Some people camp. So we have contracts or agreements with churches or campgrounds
On the grounds.
that those people are camping while the rest of us are in hotels.
And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm on a trip that long, I'm like, hell no, I wouldn't get enough rest.
I've camped before, but not this. There's too much. Well, on the leadership side of it, for me, there's too much work to be done. And
okay, so you're prepping for all this. This is. I know this is a unique ride this year.
yes.
And all of
But
this
same
travel
format,
time,
yeah.
right? Same format, and it's very organized. I'm blown away by
Yes.
this. Real quick before I get into how folks can actually get involved with you,
Sure.
what I want to know is because this is recorded, can I get permission to use any of the video at all that we've discussed, like the gas stop? You said I'll show you that video. I'll send you a
Yeah,
link.
a lot of those are my personal videos.
And that's cool.
yeah. Mhm.
Awesome. So then you will have already seen it. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that I asked beforehand. It's going to seem weird to the viewer or listener, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
No, I
great.
understand.
So
I
now you
understand.
will have seen video, and thanks to Mary, Cupcake. Okay, so how can folks get involved? What assistance could you use? Like, how does it work?
Well, besides what we do, the ride is not only for both of these types of rides, right? Heartland Heroes Tour, Run for the Wall, Sandbox route, My Heart and Soul. Those both work synergistically. We provide a space for veterans and their families and supporters to come and heal with us while we ride.
Right.
But we're also providing support to the communities as we go. We may be making donations into these schools at different memorials that are not kept under government funds, that are privately donated, like the Middle East Conflicts Wall Memorial. We may be, giving a donation to a VFW post that has fallen on hard times, most especially because of COVID, things like that. So we're providing back to the communities, and the communities are providing to us. So people don't have to be a rider to come with us on any of these. They can come in a cage and a car.
Yeah, car for regular folks. Cupcake's all involved in that vernacular.
They can come in a car or a truck and be a participant or volunteer for leadership. I mean, like, we need trucks to pull these trailers in order to catch a bike, right?
Right.
So we have different ways that people can get involved. And then on the community side, I mean, I tell people I run on hugs, flags, and food, cupcakes. And so if people want to, I cannot express to you what it means to have a long day or a heavy-hearted day and be in the rain, because we don't stop for anything. We have somewhere we have to be.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if we're getting sleeted on, rain, chased by a tornado. I mean, within reason, we had to pull out one time and take shelter because of tornado.
What an adventure that is.
115, 17 degrees. It doesn't matter. We're riding on time. And so I cannot tell you two instances I can relay to you. One, in the middle of the desert, 115 degrees. One of the guys next to me is what we call an F&G, a fun new guy.
Yeah, exactly.
A fun new guy. And
Fargan new guy.
He is a Vietnam veteran. He's wearing a half helmet. And I call him West Point. He's an amazing, just a super awesome guy, still riding with us in his 80s. You wouldn't know he was in his 80s.
That's
Vietnam
amazing.
veteran, played ball at West Point. And we are in the middle of the desert, and there is nothing to be seen. I mean, you can 360, and there is nothing to be seen.
Right.
And there is an overpass with no on-ramp or off-ramp. So it's one of those overpasses that maybe goes out to ranch land or...
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't know how to describe
Almost
it.
like a Zizix road on the way to Vegas,
Right.
except a much, much grander, I guess.
Right.
Much more area.
And there is a gentleman up there that we can see is wearing a veteran ball cap. He's holding like an American flag. It's a few years ago. So either he was holding an American flag or a branch specific flag, like a Marine Corps flag. And he is up there in the middle of the heat saluting us as we come through.
Oh, what a
Okay,
sight. Chills
now-
again.
Now, let me set the stage on this. I don't know where this guy came from. I don't know how long he's been standing there waiting for us to come through. We do have trackers, but I don't know how long I don't know what his affiliation is.
It meant enough to him to be there.
It meant enough to him to be there.
Yeah.
And I look over, and my buddy West Point, my brand new friend, this FNG, and his shorty half helmet is streaming.
Oh,
And we get to that next
You're
gas
getting me
stop,
here.
and the first thing I do is get off the bike and come over to this, from the exterior, very hard man, who I know is a very soft, amazing person, George. We love you, George. And I come over to him and say, "Hey, West Point, how you doing?" And he goes, "Everything that we endured coming home, all of the things being thrown at us, and all the name calling." And he goes, "That right there was everything." And so that's one.
and thank you, George, for your service.
And there's a second one. We're coming through one of the worst years of rain we had ever had. 5 days straight of just torrential, soaked to the bone, cold downpour going through the south on a particular route of run for the wall. And I'm pretty sure it was Louisiana. And we get into these spaces where every overpass is covered with people and flags, every single
In
one.
the pouring rain.
Right. And every year. But this particular year in the pouring rain, I look up and there is a lady, baby in her arms, little kid, somehow holding a flag with the other people and waving at us. And I just thought, she's got her kids out here in the pouring rain to teach them some sort of lesson
Yep.
about what we're doing and why this is important. And I mean, there's hundreds, thousands. The photos, there's a photo of me going over a bridge with a hook and ladder and a giant American
This
flag.
is America.
There's
I
a
love
photo
this.
of me. I mean, it's the back of me, but you can tell with my braids, my hair. And there's a photo of me going under there, like giving them the love sign. And there's, law enforcement and hook and ladder. And there's these big, beautiful displays. But every once in a while, you catch that one person or that one family, and I'll never know who they are.
But you know what? Later in life, they won't have a clue about this unless they ever see this podcast or happen to see you on another, in another
Yeah,
avenue.
right.
But it's cool because whether they have any idea or not, they're a part of your history now. They're a part
Yeah.
of you later in life. Well, now and later in life,
Yeah.
where this means enough to you that it's stuck out in your mind that you remember this forever.
Years later.
Years
Yeah.
later. Conversations with grandchildren and
Sure.
just your family and teaching them right. Because I really do hope that our teachers today, who I respect immensely,
Yes.
I really hope that there is some sort of curriculum to teach and keep that awareness alive for our youth about our men and women who've served this country today, yes. But I'm talking about way back.
Yes.
They need to know about this.
Yeah, and
So
they
that when
need
they
to know-
see the old man or the old woman on the
And
corner,
this is the school in Missouri.
that's a hero.
This is the school that got that POW MIA designator. I mean, look, I'm wearing the bracelet of one of my girlfriends that I ride with, that I'm going to ride with in Heartland Heroes Tour, that rides one
Wow.
for the wall. Her dad is still missing in Laos. Lieutenant Commander
Her
Dennis
dad's still, what?
from the Vietnam War. So Shannon Spake, I love you, girl. I have a video with her where I interviewed her for an hour about everything about her dad's case, the conspiracy theories.
She rides?
Yes, she
I'd
rides
love
with
to
me
have her on
this.
to tell her story.
She's in Texas, but I can.
I
give
can
you the
do
link
Zoom.
I can.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And
Wow.
she, my dad went to Vietnam and came home. Her dad didn't. She went to Laos a few years ago. She had to fundraise to go to Laos to try. She was within miles of the mountain where the impact happened to go see the site, and it was impassable roads, and she couldn't go. And it's taken all this, and it takes so much time and money for the government to get to find these sites. First of all, get the equipment into sometimes impassable roads and do digs to bring our families home. And something Shannon said that in that interview that was so impactful to me is that even though some of these families of MIAs from any era, not
Right.
just Vietnam,
Right.
any era, we have almost 1,600 still missing from Vietnam. Right? So Laos, that whole
I mean, I
area.
knew we still had some missing. I didn't know the number.
Yeah, almost 1,600. So we, one of the things that she said is even though there are some families that refuse to give their DNA, put their DNA in the data bank file, forensics file for, so other families can get a no or a yes based on another family's DNA.
In other words, a no, you're talking about whether they're alive or not, or whether
well,
they're...
if they found remains
I
to
get you.
positively identify
yeah,
them.
yeah.
But some of the families have just kind of, for whatever reason, have closed that chapter, and they're not pursuing finding their loved ones and bringing them home.
So as bad as that sounds, I'm going to say maybe that is their hope that they keep alive. Maybe they don't. You know what I'm saying?
That's why
like
I said
they'd almost
for
rather
whatever
not know.
I have nothing.
Right, nothing bad to say at all. No,
I couldn't. I couldn't.
Got to
fathom-
walk in their shoes.
Right, exactly.
And we don't. So
Exactly. But something that Shannon said that really struck me was, it's our responsibility in this to call for a full accounting of POW, MIA, or BNR, body not recovered, in these different avenues. It's our responsibility as Americans. This is what it gets to: is if we send them, we need to bring them home. But what she said really hit me in this interview, and I'll give you a link to that interview as well on a Facebook Live interview. Is basically she said, just because their families, or they maybe didn't have family, maybe they weren't married. I mean, some of these guys that went to Vietnam were so young, maybe they didn't have kids,
Right.
maybe they didn't have siblings, their parents have already passed. So there is no one to carry the torch. So she said, just because some chapter has closed on locating them doesn't mean that service member doesn't deserve to be brought home and rested at home.
right.
Even though there's no one necessarily by family to carry the torch for them. And that hit me
Oh yeah.
really hard. The other thing that she said is Shannon's mom, thank goodness, is still alive and very vibrant with us, which is the widow of Lieutenant Commander Dennis Pike. And she never remarried. And Luann Pike lives in California here. And something she said about her mom and the families of missing in action of any era is, her mom is still serving. Her mom is still a military spouse.
Yeah.
40-something years later.
Never ends.
It hasn't ended.
That's why even people who like Marines, every branch, but I have friends who say, yeah, I retired, whatever. It's no big deal. No, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I do believe once you serve ever, you put on that uniform, I think you serve forever.
I know. And
Truly.
That's one of the things I love about you. You comment on that every day on your other broadcasts.
Oh, yeah. In fact, now I end every podcast. I don't know if you know this, but I started doing for the podcast here, I end it like I do my radio show because I thought, why am I not thanking our military at the end of these shows, these podcasts?
Sure.
Yeah, it's important. It's really important.
And so how people can get involved, to circle back to your question, is a really broad answer. How they can get involved, they can come with us. How they can get involved, obviously there's always an avenue for donations.
I'll say it straight up. Donations would help you tremendously.
Right. And the donations can be, what some people don't realize is it doesn't necessarily need to be financial. It can be goods or services. Do you want to feed us? Do you want to help feed us? Do you want to bring, like I said, those hydration items and a few boxes from Costco or whatever of, protein bars at a fuel stop?
Yeah.
I mean, that helps our riders not only financially, but really efficiently, like I said, to get us through so we can sit down and take a break for 5 minutes and get into the restroom, get into the head real quick.
Another, that's a military vernacular there, military term, but that's all right.
And so, they can do that. But like I said, just covering an overpass, bringing your family to cover an overpass to wave us through, writing your congressman and telling them you're calling for a full accounting for all POWs and MIAs of any service era. There's so many ways you can get involved.
But let's get back to, because I'm going to say what you're not saying. Money can help. It costs money to do this. And all of those ways are phenomenal. If you can help, $1 counts, a quarter counts, whatever. But let's just suppose you're watching now, someone's watching now, or listening now, and they say, you know what, I've got an extra buck, $5, $10, $100, whatever it is, or the food, hydration packs, whatever it is. How do they get in touch with you?
They can get a hold of me personally through social media, Mary Pittman, Pittman, and Cupcake. If you throw in Mary Pittman and Cupcake, like, for example, on Facebook, I'll pop up.
Okay. They can DM you, whatever?
Yeah, they can email me. I can give you the links for all of that.
Yeah.
Social media.
Let's get your email now, because I will also put it in the description below.
Wonderful. So my email is myblue54 with no E. So it's MYB as in Bravo, LU54. That's my classic car.
I was thinking that too.
MyBlue54 with no E, MYBLU54 at AOL.com, because I am
MyBlue54 at what?
AOL.com.
You are vintage. You are. Yeah, you remind me of those pinup girls.
I do pinup work.
I figured.
And vintage work, yes.
Well, Mary, I could talk to you for hours. Honestly, before we came on this podcast, I knew you were nervous because I saw your post on Facebook about being up at 1:30 this morning, doing whatever you were doing, coloring your hair. I don't even know what you're doing, packing. And I thought, why is she nervous? She's so good at speaking to the camera and to individuals and groups. And I'm going to tell you straight up today, I don't ever critique a performance, because this is not performance. This is just us chatting. Like I said in the beginning before we started the camera, we're just having fun. We're friends talking about something that's very near and dear to your heart, and mine too. Yeah. I think you were fantastic.
Well, thank you.
So, and I think what you're doing is fantastic. And I'm going to have as much information as I can in the description below, whatever you give me.
Yes.
And thank you for the video. Thank you for what you're doing and taking the time here, and all the folks with you.
Yeah.
So, and I've got to have you on to talk about it when you're back.
I would love to talk to you about my adventure coming home last year by myself from Florida back to San Diego completely on my own, not only during the pandemic, but during the height of the riots.
Ooh, okay, so you have to come back on about your trip, and I want stories from that.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
I have stories for that. And then also just a shout out to some of the local groups here in San Diego who are doing incredible work. So first of all, I want to immensely thank you, and do not edit this out.
Me?
Yes, you. For
whatever.
All of the community support.
That's our alarm, but we're going to keep going.
For all the community support that you provide, I know as a promoter and coordinator for local and long distance events how much work it is. So a massive shout out to you for everything you do for the community.
Always with a group. It's not just me, but thank you.
Yes, of course. We know it takes a village.
I need to learn to take a compliment.
You do.
Thank you for that.
You do. And that's why I said do not edit this
You're
out.
right. You're right. Okay.
And also just some local groups that are doing really fantastic things who I've met either through some of the things that I've done, or they've come to me because they've seen what I do and they've invited me in. And so that's going to be like my friend Mike Harris now, who comes on Run for the Wall. He was my F&G, right?
And a hero to this country, by the way.
He is. So retired Staff Sergeant Mike Harris and retired Colonel Jay Anderson run Toys for Tots here in San Diego, the big ride that we do every year in November. And now they brought me in as a co-chair last year at the Del Mar Racetrack and director of operations. And it's so symbiotic because then I have friends at Combat Vet Motorcycle Association 33-1 here locally. And I said, hey, we need to do a much different ground operation at the Del Mar racetrack. And I'm the one doing it. It's a one-off year. This is going to be kind of crazy. Can you guys come help me? Along with some other groups, along with El Cajon Hog Chapter, Young Marines, and some other groups that came to help in. But Combat Vets said, yes, it's you. We know you. We'll do anything you want. So they came in to help, and we had a record-breaking year for financial donations, thanks to San Diego Jeep Club and some other car clubs, along with motorcycle groups at the Del Mar racetrack for Toys for Tots. Mike now comes with me on Run for the Wall. He is also going to be coming with me on Heartland Heroes Tour.
All right.
Combat Vets asked me to come in and help with their fundraiser. We just did their stand-up ride, which is their largest fundraiser of the year.
I'm so bummed. I got to promote it, but I didn't get to
Everybody's busy. Everybody's busy. So they had what I think is their largest year. I helped them run the 50-50. We did over a $3,000 take.
I've never even heard of a 50-50 that big.
And then again, Combat Vets is
I need you to do the 50-50 if we do one for May Ride.
There you go.
Not this year, next year.
No, because I'll be.
Well, you're going to help me do some kind of setup and figure out how the hell to do that.
I can help you guys. But, and then, so Combat Vets then in turn is a 501c19 donating all of their money back into veterans charities.
And they themselves are veterans.
Their motto is Vets Helping Vets.
Yeah,
so they
awesome.
are donating back into things like Final Honor, Canine Guardians, even just helping veterans here locally, food banks, helping veterans needing assistance in their homes, rebuild part of their homes. So everything from other organizations that they're donating to individuals. Well, then in turn, some of the Combat Vet guys are coming with me next year all the way on Run for the Wall and the inaugural year for my Sandbox
How great
route.
is that?
So I just want to give a shout out to not only you, but to all of this community, being that the motorcycle community is one of the most giving, generous communities I have ever
100%.
been a part of. And now I'm blessed that I'm being asked to be part of so many other organizations, and either with fundraising or just helping their organizations, even other potential cross-country rides.
Yeah.
Deep breath, because it's a large, again, time and financial commitment.
And
but
real quick though, it just in case, because I know how you're going to be. Once we shut this down, I want you to know and to say to you that if there's anybody you forgot about, like afterwards, after we're done and I'm editing this, the whole thing, and let me know, because we'll put them in the description below.
Yes,
so that way, if
thank
there's
you.
anybody watching this, oh man, I wish you'd have mentioned this or that. And I know most people don't feel that way.
Yeah, and
but I know you will.
There's
So we'll make sure they're in there.
organizations that I could promote right now. I mean, if I'm going to speak gratitude, that's mostly going to be to my husband and my father right now.
Hell yes.
And then a very supportive group of motorcycle riders when I first started riding, and now female riders that I now have the pleasure of helping mentor other new female
Which
riders.
is cool.
And some of them virtually. I have the honor and pleasure of being introduced to a retired Navy SEAL's daughter who wanted to take up riding with her dad just like I did. And I had the pleasure of virtually mentoring her and talking her through some things, and now she rides with her dad.
That's so cool.
It's so cool, right? It's just
Yeah.
such a community, an intertwined community. So, much respect to the motorcycle community and all these groups locally and nationally, and to the volunteers, because the volunteers are always dedicating, as yourself, promoters, the people who put these things together, the people who donate all their time and
Many
money.
of who you don't even see.
You don't
even
see,
hear their names.
And we work full-time jobs. And
Yeah.
then this is what we spend the rest of our time doing outside of our families, our home commitments, and our full-time jobs.
And that's another thing. If if you're watching this or listening to this and you're one of those folks who is what I call an unsung hero, the one who donates the $1, the $5,
Yes.
you quietly put it in the jar or whatever event you're at, or maybe
Yes.
you send that check quietly or an email
Or you're
anonymously.
on the overpass
or
with
on
the
overpass,
flag,
right?
or
And you're the one that's
handing out
5
the water
people back.
bottles.
Yes.
Yes.
And no one sees you in a picture. No one sees you in a video. No one mentions your name. You don't go unnoticed. I know that sounds so strange.
Yes, I know. I try to thank people in every way I can publicly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially on these cross-country rides, we're like locusts. We're in and out in such a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
I can't possibly hug and thank every single person. But I want to know that we appreciate you so much. And I know, and Clint knows how much giving you're doing behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal. I want you to have a safe trip.
Thank you.
And I'm a Christian, so I'm going to say some prayers for you.
I appreciate it. I take all blessings and in good kind.
There
Any
we go.
universal energy, I do.
Yeah, and we have to talk when you get back
I'm looking forward to it.
about that and your
'Cause
trip
I
that you
have-
said from Florida to here that was crazy.
Because as we speak right now, I have no idea how or how long or when I'm coming home.
Yikes. Adam, I'm with you, buddy.
He's not with me.
We'll have a
so-
beer. I'm saying
Yeah,
we'll have a beer
exactly.
while she's out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, thank you, Mary, for coming on.
Thank you so much.
This
I
is amazing.
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Safe travel.
Thank you.
And if you have ever served this country, past, present, men, women, every branch, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you. And God bless you and your families for your tremendous sacrifice. Ride safely. We'll see you on the next one.